President Obama, we found out today, is actually going to be pretty tough on gun control. He's going to push for a ban on assault weapons, high capacity magazines, and try to basically close the gun show loophole. And they say that if they can't get the legislative proposals through, they might actually do 19 different actions in the forms of executive orders in order to get the gun control we need. Now, is it purely good news, or is there some reason why we got to be like, maybe? I don't know.
I mean, it's certainly good news that this is what the White House is initially proposing. But as we've learned, we have to watch whether what the White House proposes is what the White House actually pushes for, and how hard will the White House push for these things. And one other thing that we should remember is, how far has the political debate moved to the right, where a position that George W. Bush took, which was, I support the reinstatement or the extension of the assault weapons ban, has now become something that is seen as controversial. So something that even George W. Bush said just a few years ago, yeah, we should probably renew the assault weapons ban.
No, they didn't, but he said it.
And he said it right there. It sunsets. Now that's become a bold proposal to do just something that George W. Bush himself theoretically supported.
And a law that Clinton had passed and was popular, right? And
absolutely.
It would be popular today, according to the polls. Here's the really bad news. I want to go to video number 5 here. It's Harry Reid, and there's a lot he's saying in a short period of time here. Listen to this.
In the Senate, we're going to do what we think can get through the House. I'm not going to be going through a bunch of these gyrations just to say we've done something, because if we're really legislators, the purpose of it is to pass legislation.
Okay, so he's saying there, I'm not going to bother trying to do something that's tough if the House isn't going to pass it. And by tough, he means the assault weapons ban, right? So isn't that him signaling, we're not going to do it? I don't think I've got the Democratic senators lined up for that vote.
One way to interpret what Harry Reid just said, the logic seems to be that if John Boehner doesn't want something, then we're not even going to try to pass it. In other words,
that would be a gyration.
That would be a gyration. I'm only going to do what we think we can get through the House. And so, in a certain sense, he's kind of abdicating his responsibility to be, he's talking about being a legislator, to be an independent thinking legislator. What he's really saying is, well, whatever the other House wants to do is the only thing that we will consider.
And let's keep it real here. That's our job here, right? So, which is he doesn't say that in many other fields,
right? Exactly.
And he presses forward with his agenda. Basically, what he's saying here is, immediately before we even start the discussion, I surrender.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. That John Boehner has veto power, and the Republicans in the House have veto power over what we will even consider debating in the U.S. Senate.
Now, to be fair to Harry Reid and President Obama, Harry Reid must have done at least some sort of vote count in his head, et cetera, in terms of his own Democratic caucus. And what he's realizing is a lot of these Democrats are going to vote with the Republicans, and we're not going to get that assault weapons ban. And now President Obama is not unaware of that. So when you take all of this and you mix in the fact that President Obama has usually conceded 28 things, historically in these negotiations, it makes me think, that's it. It's like, even though the president's proposals are strong and I like them, it's already over. We're not going to get the assault weapons.
I think that's what the rhetoric is already sounding like. That this is, and that the executive orders, let's remember, the executive orders are not even close to the same thing as the legislative solutions being proposed. The executive orders are about enforcing, or better enforcing, existing laws that are already on the books, which I'm not saying is a bad idea, but that's a far cry from putting new laws on the books that say you can't have a high capacity
I'll go further
magazine, et cetera, et cetera.
I'll go further than you. First, to be fair to the president, look, he does have to deal with those Democratic senators. Apparently they're not on board, so he's proposing something strong and they're watering it down. And to be fair to the president, the Republicans in the House would block, right? So all those things are true, right? Now, having said that, look, just making the laws that are already on the books a little tighter is nothing. That's classic Obama. To say like, a historic change, and when you lift a curtain, you're like, Jesus, my God, there's like 5 cents on the floor here. Is that what you're calling historic change?
Nothing changed. That's right. And I think where progressive activists all the way to Democratic politicians forget, and maybe the politicians don't forget it, they know it, they just don't want to talk about it, is there's an existing reality right now the House Republicans will try to block, let's say, the assault weapons ban. That doesn't always have to be the reality. That the president isn't just an innocent bystander. Harry Reid is not just an innocent bystander. Having the fight, showing the American people for instance, House Republicans will not support an assault weapons ban, that may put political pressure at home on House Republican legislators to potentially, over a course of a debate, maybe change their position. I think what Obama has mastered is this idea that I will cite a snapshot of reality right now. A reality that, okay, right now at this moment I can't pass X, to then say I won't even try to pass X, presupposing that reality can never change.
No, that's exactly it. And it's so ironic because the guy who ran on change believes change is never possible.
That's
like
right.
His automatic assumption is, well, obviously we're not going to get any change, right? So let me try to get like a tiny sliver of things within the realm of what I think is possible. So it's interesting, David, because somebody asked me today, well, what did Lyndon Johnson do? What could President Obama do? So let me give you that answer, right? So what he could do is he could put pressure, as you're saying, on the Republicans. Now, how, right? So you go to moderate areas where Republicans have won, so they're most vulnerable seats, and you say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to eliminate you, okay? I'm going to put all my time and pressure and resources into these districts, and you are going to go home. You can be a lobbyist for the fertilizer industry or whatever you like, but you're going home, son.
That's right.
Okay, that's politics, okay? And now, a lot of people will say, Democratic apologists will say, oh, but you can't, oh, no. Well, wait a minute, why can't you? Let me show you the polls. Now, look, granted, 33% of Americans own a gun in their house, okay, some form of gun. So we know that, right? So that seems like, well, okay, that's a big chunk of Americans. But right now, according to a Washington Post ABC News poll, 51% want control gun ownership, and only 45% say it's important to protect gun rights. And that's phrased in a way in favor of gun rights, right? Important to protect gun rights, and it still loses, right? But we're only getting started here. Now, this is a graph that's a little hard to read, but I'll tell you what it is because it's great numbers. Background checks for private and gun show sales, that's the gun show loophole, 85% say close it. It's a giant win. Even a huge percentage of Republicans in the 80s say close the gun show loophole. Preventing people with mental illness from purchasing guns, 80%. Federal database to track gun sales, 67%. Armed security guards in schools. I don't agree with that, but the American people do, 64%. Ban on semi-automatic weapons, 58%. Ban on assault-style weapons, 55%. Ban on high-capacity ammunition clips, 54%. Ban on online sale of ammunition, 53%. So all of those are huge winners.
Huge. That's right.
And so you go to those districts where on some of these issues, even the Republican voters are heavily on your side. And you say, look, you're going to do what I tell you to do on this, otherwise you're going home, son.
And you know what? You know who proved that that can be done is George W. Bush. George W. Bush went into the districts of Democratic House members and senators to push his tax cuts way back, a decade ago. And what the White House, what Karl Rove did was exactly what you said. He looked at a map of where are traditionally Republican districts, Republican states, where Democrats have happened to pick off those seats, and we're going to go there because that's where we can apply the most pressure. The only thing I'll add to what you said is that it's not just with Republicans. You mentioned at the top, well, maybe Harry Reid has a problem with Democratic senators. Well, I would argue to you that that a Democratic president of the United States, as much influence as he may have in putting pressure on Republicans in the House who happen to hold Democratic seats, he has even more power over Democratic senators. He's the Democratic president who could go into a Democratic state and say, I need the votes of these Democratic senators for this bill.
That's another great point. Look, if you can't control your Democratic senators, how weak a Democratic president are you? And more important, are you even going to try? Because it's one thing to try and then to fail, and I'll say, hey, look, man, a lot of people, Bernie Sanders tries all the time. He's a good, solid progressive. He doesn't win a great majority of the times, but at least he tries, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to see in this debate, we're going to see if President Obama actually tries, especially with the Democratic senators who he can influence, or whether, as usual, he goes, oh, I have all these great proposals. There was nothing I could do.
And
there was nothing I could do.
P.S. One other thing he could do, which I'd love to see him do, is because Joe Biden has such ownership over this. You know what? If he doesn't want to go out into those Democratic districts or Republican districts, send Joe Biden out there. Wouldn't you love to see Joe Biden go after his old colleagues and say, I need your vote on this. I'm in your state giving speeches saying we need your vote.
By the way, that's our only hope, because Joe Biden, since he's going to run for president, has to get something accomplished. Look, bottom line on this, I think that we would be lucky to get a ban on the high-capacity magazines, okay, and the gun show loophole. If we got those two, I'd consider it a big win.
Huge.
Within this current context. Now, could you do more? You could do the whole thing, and it would be fairly easy if you actually were a strong politician.